So we really want to have like a very intimate, as much intimate if you can get with 200 plus people, but we're going to try to have an intimate conversation with you guys tonight to really talk about how we navigate health, wealth, and love, and and just hopefully we can learn from each other. Okay, so they kind of know the questions that I'm going to ask them, but we might go off the cuff tonight. It might just get fun up here. So let's rock out. So the first question, Mr. Oneal. The first question is, with having such a busy schedule, how do you balance or fit in and prioritize your health?
I don't. I'm just playing. I have a very busy schedule, yes, and health for me is very, very important. So I actually, like you said, prioritize what's very important to me. And so, for an example here, I had to be up at 7:45 here to open up the doors, right? So I literally got up at 5 o'clock just to hit the gym, because I think for me, health is so important, especially as black men. We're dying around 75, 76 years old. I want to live a lot longer than that. And then also, too, y'all know me, I'm gonna keep it real. I want my wife to enjoy looking at me when I am naked. Okay. So my inspiration is live longer and make sure that my wife enjoys the view when a brother man is naked. And hopefully I'll enjoy the view. Anyways, back to you. Oh, we're going over here?
Same question.
Okay, same question.
Yeah, okay.
Wow. Well, my answer is kind of his first answer, but that's the real answer. Like, I don't. Well, to a degree. So we have to find a way to be intentional. Like, so with her and I having very busy schedules, like we'll talk about getting together and doing things together to make it fun and making it. Can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So what I was saying is that her and I will work together. We'll talk together and look at our schedule and figure out how we can go to the gym together, because I find that it pushes me and I push her, even though I get on her nerves sometimes. But when we do it together, it becomes kind of a thing. It becomes routine. It doesn't feel like work. I mean, that's how I would do it.
Y'all want the real answer? No, just playing. I would say that he definitely does push me, and he's like, "You going to the gym today?" I'm like, "I don't got an appointment. Do I got an appointment or something?" But I feel like it is. You have to be very intentional about it. For me, I have to set my schedule, my calendar, so it pops up that says morning routine. The day before, I have to mentally prepare. If I haven't mentally prepared to go to the gym, I'm not going to get up and go to the gym. So I make sure that it's in my calendar, and of course I have my accountability partner dragging me along the whole way.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, how do we stay healthy and wealthy and keep it together? So as a mom, I definitely would agree. I have to be very intentional and wake up early. Honestly, getting up at 5 a.m. is not fun, right? Not fun at all, but it's so worth it because you have that extra couple hours at the beginning of the day that are just for you, and it allows you to really prepare for what the day is going to bring. And then not just that, but set your intention for what the day will be. Sometimes we tend to just get up and let the day tell us how the day will look, when in fact we have to tell the day how it's going to look. Like, no, you're going to be a good day today, okay? Don't play with me. This is going to happen. So that's a part of why I definitely love to get up early. I haven't quite fit in working out every day. I'm gonna need y'all to hold me accountable with that. But getting up early, meditating, praying is a huge part of my health routine.
Awesome. So for me, I think it's about building an environment where being healthy is easy. So instead of stocking your pantry with a bunch of junk food, stock it with protein powder and protein bars. And instead of putting a case of beer on the front shelf in your fridge, put celery and carrots. So when you open it up, it's what you grab. And so, because it's more about, especially in times of stress, you default to what's easy. And so if choosing the healthy option is easy, then it's huge. It makes it so much easier to live a life of sustainable health. The other thing I'll say is I know everyone here is an achiever, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And so I think it's important to give yourself grace too and understand that there are seasons of sprinting, and you don't always have to be going all out in every area of your life all the time. So there's seasons where I'll go and I'll go a month without working out, or a few weeks, I'll maybe go for a walk around the block, but not like where I'm on a disciplined, focused exercise routine. And I'll be in more maintenance mode because I'm going all in on my business or all in on family time. And then, tax season. And in that, actually, taking time to exercise in tax season is probably most important. But have times where there's the mental and spiritual side of life, there's the physical and health side of life, there's your business side of life, your finances, and you can't sprint in all of them. But make sure that you don't fall too far off on the times where you're not sprinting on your health. And that's really the key. And then take times where you really focus and get laser dialed in, and that pays dividends down the line because it helps instill those habits. So that's what's worked for me.
All right, guys. So, as very successful business owners, multimillionaires up here on the couch tonight, you weren't always motivated, right? You weren't always this person that you are today. So tell us a little bit about a time when you didn't make the best decisions, where you maybe have fallen into some unhealthy habits, and what motivated you? What did you do to get out of that?
I had to think about that one. That's a good question. I have never asked myself this question. How did I put myself out there? Well, I'll put it like this. Have I talked about this publicly yet? I have. Okay, cool, great. I can talk about it. So for me, man, life hit me. I was engaged to an amazing young lady, and I walked away from the engagement. And when I walked away from the engagement, I weigh like 178 now. I was real thick then, right? I was probably maybe about 190 at 5'8". And when I ended that engagement, simply because she didn't want any more kids, I fell into a season of depression, a season of like, I told myself I'm gonna get on my knee one time. And when that didn't happen, I fell, and I was just like, man, bump it. So I just literally started working hard. I just started making all this kind of money. I wasn't taking care of my mental health, and my mental health jacked up my physical health. And when my physical health jacked up, everything just started jacking up because I wasn't taking care of the core of who I was. I was trying to cover up my mental and my physical by making a lot of money. And one thing that got me out of that was honestly just my mentor, Dr. Tony Evans. And he was just like, hey, you're a strong man, but it's okay to be weak. Because when you are weak, that's when he is strong. And when he told me that, I was like, bet. I broke down crying, went and saw a therapist. We didn't even talk. I just cried for a whole hour. And came back the next session, and she still charged me $350 for that hour. And I said, yo, I'm a wise man with my money. You ain't gonna get me the next time. But that's how I got out of it. Honestly, I started really taking care of the mental, because when we can take care of the mental, everything else falls into place. And if we go deeper than the mental is just the beginning, in my personal opinion, is who are you at the core? What do you feel at the core? And so when I fixed my core, everything else changed. You're the first person to ever ask me that question. Okay, Crysta. All right. Yeah, she wants you to think. It's the fireside chat. This ain't no make you cry chat.
Yeah, I had time to think, and I still don't have a great answer, but I would say that probably the biggest thing that you can do is work on your mental. Like, until I kind of adopted the mentality, and I heard this, so it's not original, but you learn either through mistakes or mentors. So you either going to learn by making the same mistake that someone else made that they could have showed you how to not make, or you can lean on the knowledge of someone else. And I know for myself, like, I always feel like I can do everything myself. I want to do everything myself. I can handle it. I can figure it out. And that way you make a lot of mistakes. You'll learn, but you'll make a lot of mistakes. But you can get to where you're trying to go a lot faster with help. So I think mentorship was a big thing, and then also let me see. Oh, there was another piece. Let me get that back, and then I'll come back to it. But I had another part.
Okay, so
Unhealthy habits.
unhealthy habits. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a real transparent moment. I decided I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years before I started Crysta's program. And during that time, I was just, I don't want to say depressed, but I had kind of lowered my standards. I had stopped paying attention to what I needed, and I was paying attention to the family. So I took a backhand to it, and because I did that, a lot of things fell off, and I started to accept that this is just what it is, this is what it will be. And then my mom passed. And that was no, I'm not going to do that. My mom was unapologetically herself. So at my mom's funeral, it was packed. It was packed to the max. And I was just like, wow. People were walking up to me like, your mom did this, your mom did that. And let's be honest, we all judge our moms, right? All my life, I'm like, my mom ain't did nothing. And then we get to this funeral, and she has all these people. One thing my mom has always done is she has always been herself, and she has always just unapologetically been herself. And I realized that I had not been being myself. I had tried to fit into this box. I tried to become the Joneses. This is what I felt, the Huxtables. This is what I felt everything should be, because I have these kids and we're here, and if we don't have the support, I have to stay at home. And then my mom passed, and it catapulted my life. And it could be just depression, okay? I went into a whole work mode. I just went into a bubble. And I was working for Liberty. No, I was working and doing taxes, but I really wasn't doing taxes. I was just playing around with it. I was, I can come and go when I please. I'm gonna work 2 hours. I'm gonna do what I want. And then that happened. It was like, my mom died when she was 51. That was my eye opener. If I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it right now. So it made me start looking for different avenues. I was extremely scared to open a tax practice on my own. So I felt like, I need to take out a loan and do a storefront, right? And my husband says, no, you don't have to do a storefront. You can go virtual. I was like, that ain't possible. And then as soon as he says that, of course, who listening? Facebook, Google? I started seeing Crysta talking about, you can build a virtual farm. So I watched Crysta for a minute. And then she had a couple of more followers. I know, I'm about to hop on this right now. And during that time, I literally, what I did to make myself better is that I mimicked everything Crysta did. I watched what she did because I was so, I was able to believe that if she could do it, damn it, I could do it too. So that was my aha moment. And Crysta would do all these things. Like, she would have like 50 tasks, and I was just trying to keep up with her. So that's what happened. I had my head down trying to keep up with her. She did 50, I did 20. Here I am. And in the midst of that, it's gotten me here, and it has changed my mindset. It has changed everything. She allowed me to open up my mind, even though everyone tells you to open up your mind. You meet that person where it's like, if she could do it, anything is possible. So that's my aha moment. That's when I started to be like the mental space. That's when I started to make it consistent. She started that morning call. I remember that morning call, and she would get on there, and I'm like, what is she doing behind the call? She cut that thing off. What is she doing? I kept asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she's like, I'm just going jogging. I'm just praying. I'm just doing that. So I'm in the background like, I'm gonna jog. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna do that too. So I did all the things that Crysta did for like 18 months straight. And I didn't see the huge results. But at the end of that 18 months, it changed everything. Like my Teddy, you said your confidence can change in the short amount of time. Like, I went from, I don't want to talk about taxes because I'm not sure if what I say would be right, or someone would criticize what I say, or I'm not smart enough. And then I got in a group and I realized, oh my God, I know more than a lot of people. So all of that, I say all of that to say, going through that, it was my aha moment, and creating that consistently, working on my business or working and realizing I can do it for myself. That is how I got out of that bad habit. And it was just small steps at a little bit time. And so now it feels natural to me when it did not feel natural to me 2 years ago.
I paid that testimonial.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's so amazing. So unhealthy habits and breaking them. So I think for me, I can relate to you. I'm a do it all myself. I got this. I don't need a team. My unhealthy habits were non-delegating. So just taking on all, I scaled my business so fast from 300 followers to almost 300,000 now. And I used to do all my own customer service, all my own creation, everything. So I was staying up late, which is another unhealthy habit, not sleeping at all, and doing everything myself. And I had a moment where I realized, if I stay on this hustle train, what's going to happen to my health? You can hustle, but only so long as you're healthy. And I think sometimes we work, and then my back started hurting. I said, wait a minute, I'm only 28 years old. Wait, what is this pain in my side? And so it really started to manifest in my life because I was trying to carry so much on me, and my body was literally telling me, you can't do this anymore. So I was able to break that unhealthy habit by hiring a team. And it's honestly the best thing I've ever done, because I realized you'll make so much more money when you outsource tasks, when you train people to do things that you would normally do. And honestly, it allowed me to stay in my zone of genius, and that's what it would do for any of you as well. My zone of genius may not be answering customer service emails at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. My zone of genius is creating and content and scaling. And so when I moved that over to someone whose zone of genius it was, I got more sleep, I was delegating tasks, and then it allowed me to expand and create, which then allowed more money to flow into the business. So doing that, I think I realized, for me, after my divorce, which happened at the beginning of 2020, I felt this insatiable need to just achieve. I really needed to prove to myself that I was valuable, that I was worthy, that I was all these things that I knew I was internally, but I felt the need to really prove that outward. And so it caused me to drive myself into the ground, But what's really key about shifting and recognizing those unhealthy habits is your worth, your value never goes anywhere. You don't have to prove that by working super, super hard. It's always there. In fact, you maintain your worth and your value, and you achieve more by saying, you know what, I am going to ask for help. Asking for help is healthy. Getting sleep is healthy. Doing work with a team is healthy, and it's good for your business. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, clap it up. So for me, it starts with recognizing that you're in a pattern of unhealthy habits. And then once you recognize it, then how it's worked for me is I then set a goal that requires me to take massive action so that I can't afford to have the time to do those bad habits. And then I put some stakes on that goal so that it's really, really painful if I don't hit it. So as an example, back when I had an infant and was studying for the CPA exam at the same time and trying to help build this business, I stopped, back to the health question, I had stopped working out at all, was eating too much, drinking too much, all that good stuff, and found myself waking up one day and I wasn't who I saw in the mirror wasn't who I saw as myself inside. And so I was fortunate enough that I was in an accountability group, a mastermind group at the time. And so we were running around setting goals. And I said, look, I need to get back to this weight and get back to these healthy habits by 4 months from now, and I'm going to put $2,500 on it if I don't reach that goal. And there's accountability, because at the time, I mean, I couldn't afford $2,500, like literally didn't have that much money in the bank account. And so I couldn't fail. And so when you can't fail, you find out how much more you have in you. And so if you do things and commit to it, then it's going to help you break those habits because you don't have an option.
Yep, clap it up. Clap it up. All right, you guys ready for the tea tonight? Oh, Lord. You guys ready for the tea? All right. Okay, so I'm single. Ellie's single. Tyler's been married 10 years. Anthony is single and actively looking for a wife. And the Rhodes has been married for 13 years. So one of the things that I had to learn, from relationships was really figuring out my non-negotiables. This is what my therapist told me. She was like, "What's your non-negotiable?" I was like, I don't know. He can't be a crackhead, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's like the non-negotiable I can think about. And she's like, no, you need to dig deeper. Like, what are the things that you are absolutely not going to deal with? But it also made me look at, like, what are some things that I would love in a relationship, right? So I wrote, like, a letter to my future husband. I wrote, like, what it looks like on our perfect day and how we met. Like, I try to be as very intentional as possible, okay? Because for those that don't know, I had wrote my dream home about 2 or 3 years ago, and literally within 18 months I was waking up in that same home that I had written about. And I was so mad at myself because I was like, girl, if you would have wrote about your husband 3 years ago, you would have got that a long time ago. But I never was intentional about dating or about finding a husband, right? So I recently got it really intentional. So one of my core, I guess, values would be we will have to pray together. Like, if we're about to get into an argument, it's like, okay, baby, let's pray. And that is kind of like if he could drop his ego and if he can drop the anger or whatever he's feeling at that moment to come together and pray, like, that's something that I'm looking for. So I say all that to say, with you guys, first we'll start off with my single fellow colleagues up here. What is your non-negotiables? We'll start back with you, Ellie.
Okay. Oh, Anthony, you got it. You got a break right there, because I thought she was sure gonna go to you. Lord, I wasn't ready.
I'll see y'all tomorrow.
I was gonna take from your answer. All right, so non-negotiables. That's a good question. Definitely not a crackhead. Thank you. Definitely not unemployed. No, but I think, for me, in looking at what I want in another marriage, and because I definitely do want to be married again, and I had to look at also within myself, what are areas that I don't want to let myself down in. And so for me, I never want to let myself down with my prayer. I never want to let myself down with my keeping my word. I never want to let myself down with being ambitious. Ambition is very important to me. So that helped me to really define my non-negotiables. And I did write, we can call it a love letter or a just a guide almost of what I would want that man to look like. And I think that's very valuable, because one thing I've realized is we set intentions about our business. We set intentions about what we want our house to look like. We set intentions about how much we want to make, how much money we want to make, how well we do at work. But we rarely set intentions about the person we want to spend our life with. And one thing I've learned in going from a marriage to now being single is who you choose is everything. That often plays a huge role in defining how much you end up making, how your business does, what kind of house you live in, and how long you can stay in that house. It is so paramount to the success of your life and also the success of your legacy. So for me, my non-negotiables are, business-minded, ambitious, definitely needing to be of faith. Prayer is so important. And then, some soft skills, some things that you might not be able to see on a person, but someone who is legacy minded. Because there are some people who are just wanting to work for money the next day. There are some of us who want to work for money for the next 100 years. And that's the type of person I'm looking for. So, yeah. Come on now.
Wow. All right, so for me, I have 5 S's. You know, I had my friend Devon Franklin on my show a couple of months ago, and he made me talk about some of this stuff. I would encourage y'all to check it out, because, you know, Devon believes in cutting up a list. And I called Devon out. I said, well, bro, it's easy to cut up a list when you married Megan Good. And I'm like, so are you telling me I can't get a Megan Good? He said, I got Megan Good when I got very intentional and I cut up the extreme list. So I have 5 S's. So some of y'all may not like them. It's all good. Talk to God about it. He approved my 5 S's. The first one is she got to be saved. You know, I am a saved brother. I grew up in the church. I'm not like churchy, but God is ahead of my life. So I need someone who is saved. Next one is she has to be sweet. This generation of ladies, don't. My wife cannot say she's a boss chick because I'm not an employee. So I need you to be sweet. You know, we're going to be partners. We're going to build together. But you still need to understand, I am a man, you are a woman. Let's bring those characteristics to the relationship together. After that one, she needs to be skilled. You know, I need you to be skilled in some area. You can't be lazy with me because God has called us to build legacy, has called us to build wealth, and which also requires smartness. You know, you don't have to have a master's degree, but you need to be smart in some area of the life. What is the gifts and the talents that God has given you? And then the last one, the church runs away from this. Let me say this up front. The church runs away from this and they scare us away from it when God made it. My wife has to be sexual because as a man, I want to be married to one woman for the rest of my life. And so if I'm going to be aligned with you, if I know this is my drive, then my wife needs to have at least the desires to meet that drive for me as well. And so for me, I'm very specific with God. I think the church says, oh, don't worry about her looks. Don't worry about the sex. God will fix it all. That's a lie. Like, I have to be attracted to my woman. I need to be attracted to my wife. And I better have some fun in the bedroom. If not, then that's when we give the enemy room to creep in. And, oh, she look good. She can do this. She can do that. And your wife can't. When if the church would teach them, say, listen, wait until you're married. Okay, that's between you, whatever it is. But listen, your wife better look good to you. If your wife never made you have to go take a cold shower, she ain't your wife, bro. And so for me, sweet, saved, skilled, smart, and sexual.
I love that. So I wanted to add another S that just made me think, and supportive. Supportive is so important, right? So now you got 6 S's. Come on, let's go. Now you got 6 S's. But that's so key, you know, especially as entrepreneurs, we all know that this path is not always easy. You know, it's hard, it's stressful. And if our partner is maybe not an entrepreneur, which rightfully, you know, that can happen, right? Rightfully so. They need to be supportive and recognizing what we deal with as entrepreneurs and that our path needs a lot of support. We need a lot of help. And also, I think what's important is, you know, understanding that at sometimes you as the business owner need to be at the front of the relationship, and them being the supportive partner may need to be at the back. And then sometimes that's going to switch, you know? So I think that's another thing to really look for, as someone who can take their ego out of it and realize, okay, right now is my lady's season. She's got to go be all of that. Or it's my man's season. He's got to go be all of that, and mine is coming later. You know, really to support those roles, so to speak.
All right, so next up is my married couples. So, I was recently teaching one of my live classes. I showed them a chart of Google, of Facebook, of Amazon. I showed the stock and how it was trending over the past like 20 years. And I asked them, I said, what do you notice about how it's trending? They said, oh, the trend is going up. Even though there are a lot of dips, the stock dipped many, many times over the years, it was still trending upwards. And I think a lot of people think marriage is just like this, but it's actually like this. Ooh, you know, we happy, we mad, we happy, right? But as long as your trajectory is still going up, you have a healthy, sustainable marriage. But where a lot of people, where I see fall through the cracks, is that when they go through those dips, they think this is it. It's divorce. They don't realize that they stuck it out and they worked it out, that it's gonna bounce, the stock is gonna go back up eventually, right? And it's gonna trend back. So for you guys, and we'll start with Tyler, when you go through those dips in your marriage, how do you bring it back up?
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and I think it when I was thinking through what are my non-negotiables, one of them that came up was committed, and I think it's my wife and I both are blessed that both of our parents are still together, so our identity was that's just what you do. And I think that's true in building a business, especially if you have a partner, anything. It takes, both sides have to be committed. And you have to understand that, so we wrote our own vows, and one of our vows was, may we both remember that our love is stronger than anything that could possibly come our way. Yeah. And so I think it's just remembering that. And I think it's when you get in those heated times where it seems like you're just on edge, if you can have some sort of like humor in the moment, or make a joke, or just kind of say something so out of left field that just lowers the temperature, it helps remind you that you're both human and you both want the same thing. But it starts with full commitment. Leaving or ending can't be an option, and that's really it. Because I just moved across the country with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. My wife and I had some tense moments, but we still every week talk about how grateful we are for each other and how we don't know what we'd do without each other. But that doesn't mean that we don't get into some pretty tense disagreements over things when we're figuring out where we're going to live and all of that. So, but it's just not an option. So I think that's just the number one thing.
I love that. It's just not an option. I love that. No, you're going first.
Just say you're going first, brother. Not attention.
Commitment is strong. I really relate to that. That spoke to me. I really am of the mindset that there's really nothing that we can't work through. And similar to you guys can probably relate to it in business. You find that when you're going through the hardest times, once you get past that you see the acceleration. There's usually a jump. There's usually something on the other side of that. So if you're willing to be patient and you're willing to communicate, you're willing to compromise, you're willing to set the ego aside and understand that ultimately what we're trying to do is work on something for the better good of us. It's not selfish. It's not, it's not malicious or anything like that. So. I definitely think that communication and the commitment is strong. You need to be able to have a conversation without yelling at each other at the top of your lungs. Perhaps you have a code word or a buzzword or something like that. And I always try to make sure that we don't go to sleep upset. You know what I mean? Even if it's we'll table this conversation to another time, but right now it's more important that we're happy. You know what I mean? So you prioritize the happiness, prioritize your partner, make them feel important and special. And it's always going to be a give and take. You're not going to always get your way, but ultimately I'd rather have you than be right. You know what I mean? I'd rather have you happy than me be right. So I don't want to put that above. It's not more important. You know what I mean? So that's really it for me. What do you think?
I would say all the things that he said. In addition to that, I would say being a friend first. Because at the end of the day, this is my friend. This is my best friend. Even when we have our heated debates, dude. Right now, as a friend, I'm telling you, you messed up. But as a wife, you pissed me off. So definitely friendship, and then being able to grow together. When you said, what are your non-negotiables? We got together so young that we didn't necessarily have non-negotiables.
We figured it out together.
We figured it out together.
We grew up together.
Yes. So what I would say is that when you are growing, or whoever you are with,
they have to be willing to grow with you. Not necessarily on the same page, but willing to grow together. When we first started off, I was not the entrepreneur. I'm gonna be a 9 to 5, I'm gonna stay in this box, we need to build this 401k, what are you talking about? And he's like, we got to start all these businesses. And I'm like, no, that's not what I wanna do. And then, so now fast forward, he was very patient. Me just stepping out and being an entrepreneur actually on my own 4 years. And he's been with me this whole time. And now I'm the entrepreneur. So it definitely switched roles. You definitely have to elevate and have to be open when it comes time to grow. And if your spouse is growing, you gotta be ready to grow with your spouse. Don't close off your mind. You have to be open-minded, regardless of what it is. You said like sexual or anything like that. You have to be willing to work on those things, and you do go through those dull moments. You do have heated debates. And what I find is that most people think, oh, in a marriage it must be cheating that is the issue. That's not. You have parents that pass away. You have kids that may be disabled. You have moves across the country. Like, those are the things that when it's down and out, you have to be for each other. That's my TED Talk.
Yeah. So 2 of y'all have DM me. Is that so? I have a question. Do you not want an entrepreneur and a woman? Let me say this. When I said I don't like the term boss chick, what I'm saying is when a woman says she's a boss chick, I just want to make sure you're clear. You're a boss when you're out there. When you're home, you're my wife and you're a mother. I'm a boss, I'm an employee out here, but when I come home, I'm your husband and I'm a father, and we're doing this thing together. So no, I just want to make sure I'm clear. My wife will be an entrepreneur. She will get the bag, and I'm going to support her getting the bag. I can't wait to pick up her purse and carry her around and take pictures for her because it's her season. But when we go home, she ain't the boss no more. She's my wife and I'm her husband. I just want to clear that up because some of y'all in my DMs like, hey, that kind of sound kind of wrong, Ayo.
Oh yeah, really quickly, I just want to piggyback off of a couple. It's a lot of nuggets getting dropped up here, man, but I keep hearing a lot of words. I'm hearing support, I'm hearing grace, and those things really, like, I can really real life think of things that those words have come into play, like verbatim, those exact words. So definitely having a supportive spouse is huge, especially if you're embarking on greatness. You're trying to be, you're building a business. You have lofty goals and dreams and things like that. If you don't have someone who's supporting you and speaking life into you and making sure that, you know, they're being a positive impact on your mental health, that could hinder you. That could really slow you down. But then also, when you set expectations on other people too, or even on yourself, like, it's important to have grace. You know what I mean? Because if it's for yourself, I mean, it's you don't want to work yourself into a space where you're depressed or your self-esteem is harmed and you don't feel like you can do. But if it's for someone else, then I want to be able to make sure that I'm extending the grace that I want if I make the same mistake. You know, so I don't want it to come back, you know, hard on me in that way, because it's not building up. You know what I mean? We're building. Can I add one?
Absolutely.
So around commitment, I think it's easier to stay committed if you have a compelling future. And an exercise that my wife, so my parents or my in-laws came into town for 10 days over Thanksgiving, and so my wife and I got a couple nights away, which was amazing, by the way. And we sat down over dinner one of the nights, and we took 10 minutes not talking to each other, and we both wrote down 10 things that if we had our perfect life 10 years from now, that we would have. And then we compared them and combined them and figured out exactly what our life is going to look like a decade from now. And it's freaking awesome. And if we give up, we're not going to get that. And that goes on both sides. So if you, and this is true painting the vision for your team members and for your family and for your kids. Like, our family is going to go do something awesome, and this is what we're doing. And it becomes much easier to be committed when you're not lugging this, you know, the old ball and chain or whatever it is, but you're being carried forward together with a compelling vision of how freaking awesome your life is going to be 10 years from now. for 20 years.
Yep, clap it up, clap it up. You know what, Tyler, that was a perfect segue into my last question. Seriously, that was going to be my next question. So one of the things that I wanted to learn from you guys is what excites you most about the future with I'm going to call it your purpose mate, right? What excites you most? What are you looking forward to? And Tyler said, the next 10, 20, 30 years in a perfect world, what does that union look like? What is the great grandchildren, like what does that, like paint the vision for people to see, like what is that and what does it feel like?
Wow, I love this. I love visualizing. I think everyone, when you get home or when you're back at your room, definitely take a moment to write out what you did for yourself if you don't have a purpose mate yet and it's just you. Because writing things down and setting intentions, it really comes to pass. Like, it might take a little time, but trust in God, trust in knowing that it will come, and continue looking at that vision. So what excites me is definitely, I feel like it's so fun to achieve things with someone, It's very fun to achieve on your own, but it's so much more fun and exciting and addicting when you're literally building with someone and when you can share each other's wins and when you achieve a goal that you both have set out to achieve. Like, once you guys do get to that 10-year plan, it's going to feel so amazing, It's going to feel incredible. So I'm looking forward to seeing who I'll become with a purpose mate. I love that. With a helpmate, with someone to see something in me that I don't see and bring it out. And I'm very much looking forward to doing the same thing for someone else. I think that, part of the reason also why I love business coaching is that I'm able to look at their business and identify areas in it that they may not see and show them this is really how excellent you are. Like, you might see yourself like this, but I see you like this. And so I'm really looking forward to experiencing that with someone and just becoming this best version of myself while they become this best version of their self and looking like, wow, you're so bomb, we're both so bomb. Like, that's really exciting. And beyond that, I do have children, so really showing them that this is what legacy can look like and normalizing it for them so that they have an idea of, I can go and create this life with someone. I can go and make success with someone. I have a unit to back me up. So yeah, that'll be great.
What you said earlier?
Oh, no. Okay. I thought we were just going down the line.
I want to know that top 10. What y'all think?
I know, me too.
The question was, what are you looking forward to? What excites you most about finding a purpose mate for these 20, 30 years from now?
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. What I look forward to when it comes to finding my purpose mate, my wife, my best thing, my favorite. Number one is I'm at a place in my life to where I believe God has put a small glass ceiling on me because he believes that the next season has to be with her. So I'm looking forward to breaking through the glass with my wife because together we can go further. Her strength, her wisdom, her wise counsel, her smartness, we can impact. And so I really look forward to breaking through that glass because I do believe that sometimes I think God strategically sets it up this way to where it's like, hey, I'm not going to put you into that season by yourself because I know you'll fall. And so I know with my wife, I'll be able to get into that season. I'm looking forward to get into that season with her. Then two is I'm very big on influence, man. When I'm so excited about what her and I will build together. In the church we talk about the man is ahead. And the only time I'm going to be ahead of my life is when it's protection. And so when we are walking together, we'll be side by side, influencing and really representing the minority culture. Because I love all people, no disrespect to white people, but my wife will be a sister. And I want to represent for the black culture and show my black kids that black couples, black people can be successful and impactful in the United States of America. So I am looking forward to seeing my kids see their father and their mother grow up together and being impactful, because my parents are not together. So I have 4 parents, and my mom cheated on my dad with my stepdad. And so I want to show my kids something opposite, because that's going to be a hard story to tell my kids about grandpa and grandpa and what grandma did. So, and it's a public story. My mom came on my show and shared it, and it was funny. She was like, hey, I haven't always been saved. I was 18, young and dumb. And I was like, you were dumb, Mom. That show ended real quick. But I look forward to that. I look forward to breaking through the glass. I look forward to serving my wife. I look forward to serving my kids. And I look forward to my family serving the kingdom and serving our community. So I look forward to that.
Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, yeah. Okay, so, but what I am looking forward to and what I'm excited about, and MySherri, I'm sure can relate, is we are looking forward to building something and showing, similar to what you were saying, showing our children that it's possible, that you can set higher goals, that you can accomplish, that you can do things. And I think that's important for me just intrinsically, because I didn't see that. So a lot of the mistakes that I made in life was because I didn't have anyone to guide me or lead me in a certain direction or a certain way. I didn't know any different, you know what I'm saying? So I had some habits that didn't serve me well. And I'm excited about our growth and what we're doing and what we will do, because for us to get where we need to go or where we're going to go, a lot of those habits have to go away. So that means we have to grow, and that means that our kids will see us grow, and that means they'll pick up those things and pass them down to our grandkids, and we'll start a new trajectory of what the Rhodes family is and can do. You know, so that, for me, that's huge.
I would say this. I would say all the exact same things, with also adding on the fact that I look forward to being old and still being able to dance, and I got my grandkids there, and it's just like no one is in destitute, and everyone has the confidence they need, and they know that they can do it because we've set that example. And I would say one of the things that we do for our kids is that we try to make sure that we are transparent, and our kids know that we make mistakes. And we tell our kids when we make mistakes, and we're not afraid to apologize if we were in the wrong. When we were growing up, it was just because I said so. And we just personally believe that no longer are the days because I said so. We want to give our kids that opportunity to expand and do different things, and by us doing that, our kids don't have to watch particular TV shows as examples. Like I said, Cosby's were my show. And when I watched the Cosby's, let's be honest, the Cosby's were bomb, right? But the Cosby's didn't have real problems, y'all. So for, I would say about 5 years in our marriage, I was trying to be the Cosby's. I was trying to live up to the Cosby's, until I realized that that's not realistic. But because I didn't have that example, because people don't get married in my family. I got aunts and uncles that they've been together for 15 years, but they still not married. I didn't have that example. I clung to the Cosby's. And when my eyes were open to the Cosby's, like, that's just a TV show. I feel like you guys watch Blackish, that's real. That is, I'm like, I'm going through that right now. I need to talk to my kids about that. Let's sit down and watch this. Let me open up this conversation. Like, I appreciate those type of things. I appreciate a realistic example. So I strive to be a realistic example, and I look forward to, I mean, my kids, I have a teenager now, so she think that everything I do is wrong. She an alien, you know, she gonna come back. One day she gonna come back, and she gonna be like, Mom, I know you told me all those things and I appreciate it. I look forward to that.
Yes.
All right, hey Sheila. You think we can take maybe 2 questions from the audience?
Can I share what I'm excited about first?
Absolutely.
I got no future. No, well, actually, so I wanted to actually share 2 quick stories about the vision thing, and then I'll tell you what I'm excited about because I already know it's going to happen 10 years from now. So, in what year was it? It had been five or 6 years ago now. So I believe in writing out vision statements for my life once every few years to refresh it, and you write it as if it's already happened, looking back on the last 10 years. So I wrote out a vision statement, and this was a while back. This was when we had just my daughter, and my daughter was 2. And I wrote it out, and part of this, all kinds of other goals and all things that I was going to do. And part of it was, it's the summer, and my daughter is 8, and my son is 5, and we're about to take our first family trip to Disney World. 3 months later, my wife got pregnant, and it was a boy. And he was born almost 3 years exactly after my daughter. This summer, a little off on timing, this summer, my daughter's 7, my son's 4, we took our first trip to Disney World. So writing those things down, like to the point of like having a child at a certain time. Another thing that's really cool about this event and this story is last Thanksgiving, we went to the Gaylord Opryland, which was this kind of a hotel, but in Nashville. And we were wandering around. I've been kind of starting to think about events and that kind of stuff and been doing more speaking. And I went over, we were just wandering around the hotel, and I actually took some pictures of the event space there, the Gaylord, saying one of these days I'm going to either have an event or be at an event where my picture's on the wall, like walking into an event at the Gaylord Opryland. Well, again, it doesn't show up exactly, but then a couple months ago, I get this email from Crysta, hey, do you want to speak at the Gaylord at this event? I've had so many examples of this in my life, of writing it down and putting in a vision and then just thinking about and meditating on those things of when you're thinking about and visualizing, don't just write something down as a random goal. Get specific, get crystal clear, and literally like feel the moment. Like when I took that picture of like at the Gaylord in Opryland, I literally like pictured and this isn't exactly how I should have sent you an email to put this banner of my face over it so that I could have had it exactly true. But like you sit there, you visualize it and feel what that's going to feel like in the emotion, and you attach strong emotion to it, and it makes it so much, it ends up happening. It doesn't show up exactly like you imagine, but it ends up happening. So I'm going to have a 4,000 square foot waterfront property in Florida and a lakefront mountain cabin, and we're going to spend $100,000 a year on travel and experiences for my family. We're going to have access to a boat anytime we want. We're going to have access to a private jet that we can charter anytime we want. And we're going to leave at least $5 million in assets or cash to each of our kids. And we're going to give 10% of our money to our charity and our church. And that's what our life's going to look like in a decade.
That was beautiful. He has a question. You have a question?
Hot and sweaty earlier now.
Okay, we're going to take a couple questions.
You were smart. You were good.
Perfect. Thank you. Steph from Orlando, Florida. What a great, amazing event. Looking forward to many more. Next time, I feel like Orlando, I'm going to have a talk with Orlando. We're going to outnumber it, but y'all did a great job. But when we speaking about relationships, I'm 35. I'm from the islands, Haiti. I feel like love has its time and place, right? But I feel like whether it's the woman or the man, the most important thing is know your worth. Never lower your standards, because love has its time and place, right? So if you're in entrepreneurship, like myself, and I have a doctor or I have a lawyer, she's in corporate America, we're in the both paths. She don't have to do exactly what I'm doing, but the goal is we have to be compatible. Because I did the census, and I think it was the last data was like 2019. When you think about couples, you think about the divorce rate. First thing you think about is money. but it wasn't money in this. It was incompatibility. Okay, and I think money was like the third. So, you know, what tends to happen is like in the first year or two, people realize that they don't really like each other, or they're not really compatible to move forward for marriage. And that's okay, but I feel like do not force love. Don't chase, whether you're man or woman, pursue. And I'm gonna stand on that.
All right, thank you. Do we have another question? Okay.
Have you ever had a goal or a vision that you've initially thought was a little too big and you'll never be able to accomplish it? And if you have, how did you get past that original doubt?
I told you guys I was starting on my own. I found Crysta, and my vision was that I just needed to make $4,000 a month. That was it. That was all I needed to make. I wanted to be able to pay my bills. And then I get on the phone with Crysta, and Crysta's like, no, you don't want to be able to fly first class? And I was like, you know what? I should be able to fly first class. Or you don't want to be able to pay for their family trip, or you told me your girls were in dance. You don't want to be able to just pay for dance and not worry about it. And I was like, that was when I started to think, oh, well, maybe I need to think a little bigger. And then I started Crysta program, and she said, we did I needed $4,000 a month. And she's like, we're going to do the six-figure math. Well, the six-figure math said, what was the amount was, how much was it? No, it was the first time. The first time I did the six-figure math, I want to say it was like it was like 125,000. It was 125,000. I was like, Crysta, I'm gonna put this down, but I don't know what you're talking about. So I got in the program and I just started doing all of the work, and then I printed out that six-figure spreadsheet and I put it on my wall, and I looked at it every day, and I just continued to do the work. The first year, well, I would say within a 12-month time frame, it didn't happen at the end of that year, but 6 months later, I hit that exact number. And it's crazy because even as I was going on and putting my head down, it wasn't my intention. Crysta just made me write it down, so I just put it in the paperwork because that's what she said do. And then I look up and I say, I was celebrating in July. We were on a call and I had hit six figures. And then when I looked up, it was the exact same number that was on that paper that Crysta made me write down. So that is like, it was phenomenal. And that was the beginning of it. I guess I got to visualize and write this crap down because this is working.
Real quick, I'll piggyback off of that just a little bit and saying that, like, you know, it goes back to we spoke on mentorship and developing your mind, and sometimes you have to lean on the belief of other people until your belief kicks in. And so what do I mean? What I'm saying is it took Crysta to speak that for you, and even though you didn't believe it, you took action on the work that she said to do, and then you looked up and the goal was hit, and you didn't even realize it, but the goal had been hit. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to have the right mentors and take action.
Yeah, real quick, all of my goals are way high. I call them God goals, right? Because if I could do it by myself, it's easy. I want to go that it is scary. And so for me, I have a system that I follow. Your why, after your why is your vision, after your vision is the goals, after your goals are daily habits. If your why doesn't make you cry, then the price of commitment to get to that goal, get to that vision will make you cry. And so I always define, I go deep down to myself, well, why do I want this? You know, why do I want this salary? It's not to buy a car. It's because I want to be able to be impactful. One of my biggest things for my why is I want to be the #1 giver at my church. And so if I want to be the #1 giver, all right, cool, what's the vision, like he was talking about? Then what's my monthly goal? And then what are my daily habits that are getting me to my monthly goal? What is that goal getting me to my vision? If I hit that vision, then I hit my God goal. And so for me, that's one thing I recommend, with just the 4 things that I put into place. And have I always hit all of my God goals? No. But you know what? I got higher than a goal that I can accomplish by myself.
What I've found is interesting over the years is every time I set what I think is a huge, big goal and then go down to put my head down and do the work, as I approach the goal, I realized that I didn't set it near big enough. And so now I just start setting big old goals, because it's amazing when you set a goal how close you get or blow it beyond. And so, like, a perfect example of that, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier today, but when we had set a goal when I first became a partner in my dad's firm in October of 2016, we were going to do this big goal that was $2 million by 2020, by the end of 2020. And at the time, we were like $750,000 in revenue. So that felt like this huge stretch goal. Well, we blew that past that at I think it was like November 2019, and ended up doing $3 million by the end of 2020. And so I wish we would have put $5 million by 2020, because then what a big goal does, if you're actually serious about it, is it increases the urgency that you act every single day. Because if you've got 10 years to get to 5 million in revenue versus 90 days to get to 5 million in revenue, you're just going to ask yourself better questions. You're going to say, I have to get to this in this amount of time. How do I do that? So start setting goals and just let the goal be a non-negotiable, to your point, and just understand that every time you set what you think is a big goal, it's actually not big enough, and it's just the limitations that you're putting on yourself because of your own personal identity. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for asking this question. I think it's a great question. And for me personally, when I set a goal, I always double it, because I always know that the first goal I'm setting is probably what I think I'm capable of. So then I double it to make sure that I'm really always pushing myself to the limit, to my furthest capacity. And I love that, Anthony, God goals, We oftentimes want to keep ourselves right here, and God is like, no, you're supposed to be way up here. So that's one way that I check myself and encourage myself to see bigger and see further. And even for me, when I made my first million, listen, I didn't know how this was going to happen. I just wrote it down on a piece of paper and said, this would be really amazing if I would go and make $1 million. Like, let's see, can we do this? This is a month or two after starting my business. I hadn't made really any money yet, but I decided to believe in something. And what ended up happening is I then reverse engineered the goal. So now every time I set a goal and I make it big on purpose, like you said, Tyler, it forces, at least for me, it forces me to reverse engineer it and look at, okay, so if I'm saying I want to make $1 million in 12 months, okay, so how much is that per month, right? That's $83K. Okay, how much is that per week? How much is that per day? How much is that per hour, right? So then when I'm looking at those numbers, then it forces me to think about, okay, so if I need to make X amount of money in an hour, I need to sell X amount of products in an hour, which means I need to dedicate X amount of time in that hour to make sure that I convert 4 people or 5 people. And so when you really break it down to that minuscule level, the goal is not that big. Yeah. Exactly. The goal is not that big. So now when I'm looking at numbers like 100 million and 200 million, it sounds huge. And a part of me is like, girl, you tripping or something? But the other side of me knows, okay, so if I reverse engineer it and I look at distributing X amount of dollars over X amount of assets, it's right there. It's really right there. And also get a really good financial planner, because they can make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this Fireside Chat. It is 9:24. We have this area until 10 p.m. So let's mix and mingle. Let's take some more pictures, have a cocktail, and yeah, let's have some fun, guys. Thank you.